Hello, I'm Rose Harris-Birtle, reporting for the MoneySavingExpert.com news service. Today I'm with Martin Lewis to ask him some questions because this morning it's been confirmed that student loans early repayment penalties have been scrapped. So obviously we want to get the lowdown from you, Martin.
Let's go for it.
So first of all, I'd like to ask, what are early redemption penalties?
Simple concept. Under 2012 student loan system, you start to repay, once you graduate, earn above £21,000, and you repay 9% of everything you earn above 21 grand. The concept was that if you try to repay more quickly than that, they would add penalties, charges to discourage people from repaying early. Simple as that.
You've campaigned to have them scrapped, but doesn't this mean richer students are going to pay less?
Yeah, and this is a real debate that's been out there between the sort of this argument of what's called political progressivity, that the more you earn, the more you should pay, versus what I think is practical reality. What you have to understand is real interest is being charged on student loans for 2012 starters. We've never seen that before, above inflation interest. And the more you earn, up to £41,000, the more interest you pay, which gives us this really weird curve. What it means is you repay nothing if you earn under £21,000, but over the 30 years before the debt is wiped, clears after 30 years, you have a curve that means the more you earn, the more you repay in total. It goes up and up and up to about £50,000 starting salary. I'm assuming that goes above inflation afterwards. And then it starts to go down, because if you're repaying more quickly, you pay less interest. And the idea of early redemption penalties was to stop that happening, to stop those huge earners actually paying less on student loans. And while I understand that, the problem for me was it goes against everything else we talk about when you look at the bigger picture of how money really works. You know, the first thing to say is we call this a loan. Now, I actually think it's a hybrid between a debt and a form of taxation, but its name is a student loan. And what we were planning to do, and what the proposal was to have government-enforced student loans that you then could not repay early, discourage people to repay early. Now, for me, that is a nightmare for financial education. And add to that the fact that the commercial sector, we've been campaigning against this happening with, you know, that normal loans should not be able to allow redemption penalties, and suddenly the government brings it in. It just feels all wrong. There's a lot of other arguments as well. You'll see in the news story that hopefully this video is on the page of a link to our initial consultation saying why we disagreed. But for me, that political progressivity actually has a relatively small impact versus the fact that people should be able to pay off their loans when they want to. Although I have to say, all this talk of natural justice, my suspicion of the real reason that this has been scrapped is the way that student finance works. The Treasury needs people to pay early to get the money in. And that will have been the bigger decision in the political houses, I suspect.
So when people graduate, they shouldn't be trying to automatically repay this early?
No, you shouldn't. Well, this is where it gets more complicated, of course, because over that 30-year period, your debt wipes. And many people will not repay in full over 30 years. So if you're not going to repay in full, and you're not going to clear what you borrowed and the interest, and everything you repay is fixed at 9% above £21,000, then paying off £100 or £200 extra could reduce the amount you repay by nothing. It won't make any difference to the total amount you repay, which means those overpayments are actually throwing cash away. Now, that only applies to people who graduate and are not on too high incomes. I mean, it's very obvious. If you're never going to repay, think about it this way. It's the easy way to picture this. If you earn less than £21,000 every year, and that £21,000 does go up with average earnings, but if you earn less than £21,000 every year, and then you decided to voluntarily pay this system, everyone would say, well, that's bonkers. But actually, the same effect happens even if you're, say, on a starting salary of £25,000 and your salary goes up above inflation. In that case, you won't be repaying in full over the 30 years. So putting extra money towards it doesn't reduce what you owe. So while I am delighted that we've scrapped early redemption penalties, that has to come with a big warning that says that doesn't mean it is right for people to overpay the student loan. We already tell people right now, don't repay the current student loan. Existing debt holders, there's an article on the site, Should I Repay My Student Loan? Worth having a read. Many people shouldn't touch the student loan, even if you've got spare cash. But for people going forward, parents, think very carefully before you pay tuition fees up front. It may not be a good idea. It's certainly not a good idea to borrow towards it. And once you graduate, without redemption penalties, it's still not worth everyone doing. Those people who get really high salaries when they graduate, though, then it does make sense. Hope that sort of explains it to you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Martin, for your time. And I think that's about all we've got time for today. So if you want to learn more about this, you can go to www.moneysavingexpert.com/student2012. Thanks very much.